Hey, welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. And so today I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on owning the Sony A7IV. Now, I have had this camera for a little over a month now, so I think I've had some time to actually give you my overall thoughts on using it. And prior to this, I was using the Panasonic G85 4K camera. I really do love using this camera, but the only weakness that it has, as with all Panasonic Lumix cameras, is the video autofocus. It is just not great, it's not reliable, and I rarely ever used it. And because of that, I have been waiting for the quote-unquote perfect camera for me that has all the features I want, plus reliable, great autofocus. And ever since this camera came out, there's been so many wonderful cameras that have been released from every major camera manufacturer, whether it's Canon, Nikon, Fuji, Panasonic themselves have created really great cameras since then, Olympus, and of course, Sony. But the one thing that really kept me looking was I wanted a combination of all the features that I would need as a YouTube content creator that really helps me create. And I really can't do all of that without having great, reliable autofocus, because a lot of times we are shooting videos of ourselves. And then all the other features that you would want in a camera as well for more future proofing. So after waiting for many years and just looking at all the wonderful cameras that came out, it made it really hard to decide on which one to get that had everything. But when Sony announced the Sony A7IV, I kind of felt, yeah, this is the perfect camera for me, even though it was really, really expensive. Now, just to make this really quick and simple, I am not a professional videographer or photographer, so all of these things that I feel are really excellent or valuable for me is probably not going to be the same for you. So let's go ahead and get into the most obvious thing, which I've already talked about, is the video autofocus. Because the Sony A7IV's autofocus is absolutely amazing. So I'm using it right now. I've used it on many other videos that I'm shooting. And also I've tried other tests with the video autofocus. And pretty much 99.9% of the times, I've never had an issue. And this is why I think a lot of people will consider a Sony camera, because I would say that's the best thing about it. And then other things that I really enjoy about using this camera, it's just the fact that the overall handling of the camera, the build quality, this is just an excellently built camera. And also the functionality of all the buttons, all the ports on the side, really high quality. And it has things like a headphone jack along with a full-size HDMI. All of those things are important. It is weather sealed. Just everything about it physically really complements the type of way that I would like to use a camera.
For serious YouTubers, check out TubeBuddy, the premier tool news at GeekOutdoors.com. Get more done today by checking out the affiliate link in the description area below.
And then other things that the Sony camera has is just an improved menu system. Now, I've never owned a Sony camera like this before, so I've heard the camera system was really bad before. But the new menu system, after spending about a few days of using this, I was already used to the whole menu system, and things made more sense then. But I wouldn't say it's as good as the Panasonic menu system, but it's still really good overall. And then another thing that I really enjoy about this camera is, even though this is a very high quality camera, it is a full frame camera, it is pretty small compared to other cameras in the same type of price range. And even versus against newer Micro Four Thirds camera like the Panasonic GH6, this is actually smaller. And this makes a big difference, especially when you're adding lenses, because the full frame cameras, they're going to have larger lenses. And so having a much smaller size is also helpful. And then another thing that I enjoy with this camera is the fact that it actually has a flip out screen. Now, this is something that most Sony cameras didn't have before. And to be honest with you, having a flip out screen is one of the biggest things that Panasonic had over other cameras for a long time. And at least for me, as crazy as this sounds, if it did not have a flippy screen, even with great autofocus, I probably wouldn't get it. But in this case, it has it. And then other things that this camera has that I've really enjoyed It's just all the features that it has. This is really a prosumer all the way to pro level camera. So in this case, I could actually grow with this camera as I learn more about videography, photography. This camera is going to really serve me for years and years to come. And at the same time, I really don't feel like it's missing anything major, at least where I'm at right now. But looking at other people who have used this camera, who are professionals, they pretty much say the same thing. This is a great camera to use for professional use. And so those are overall some of the big things that I've actually gotten out of using this camera for a month now. There's so many more things that I've yet to learn, but I will say that I absolutely love this camera. It makes me want to create more, and it allows me to focus on creating versus thinking about all these other things like video autofocus that really gets in the way of me creating, being creative, and just enjoying the camera that I have. And so if you actually had any thoughts on the Sony A7 IV or any other cameras that you've enjoyed using recently, be sure to leave them in the comments area below. And if you did want to see more of my camera reviews, tutorials, and tips, I do have an entire playlist. I'll leave that in the description area below. So as always, if you did get value out of these videos, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
And if you're a creative geek like me and you want to get exclusive access to more content that I don't put out here publicly on my YouTube channel, then join my Gold Content Creators group, where you're going to get content like this and more for all the creative geeks out there. And the best part is, all of this is free. Simply head over to the link below, check out my page, and sign up for my Gold Content Creators group.